Welcome back, guys. This is the Illegal Defense. We're going to get straight into episode 12. A lot of great college games that we had last week. We're going to get right into it with the Big 12 matchup.
Yeah, like you said, start off with the Big 12, TCU. All eyes on them. They're kind of the big, player in terms of really dictating their own destiny. They had their, undefeated season. There's some other teams with these undefeated seasons. We know Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan, who we're going to talk about all those guys as well. But TCU is kind of the team that's really on the bubble there because the feeling is if they don't keep winning, then they'll be out
They'll
of
be
it.
straight out of it. Yeah.
But they come in a thriller against Baylor. They go on the road to Baylor, play them, and yeah, they're able to pull out yet another late win. This time in spectacular fashion with the clock pretty much running down.
Right.
They run another play. Special teams kicking unit runs on the field and kicks the field goal as time runs out. The kicker doesn't even have time to line up. You know what I mean? As a kicker, you see them do they go to the ball, they to two steps, one to the side, however it goes. I'm not a kicker, but however you do that, and he just gets set, kicks it, goes right through, and walk off
still
winner,
undefeated. Yeah.
So
and it's a big win for TCU considering the obviously the playoff stakes. We saw, we'll get into the next game, but with TCU, it's just like you said, they're the only undefeated team outside of the three that's in the top three. And with TCU, it's kind of odd because it's kind of like, where do they stand if they lost against Baylor and the other teams like the USC's, the UCLA and Tennessee and things like that. But it was good that they pulled out this win. Great win to have. And then, in the playoff picture, when it comes down to it, we'll see what happens because those conversations kind of get shaky when it's like, oh, they should have beat this opponent by this much or they shouldn't have been this close. But that's a whole nother topic of discussion.
But like you said, important win for them. They stay undefeated. They have Iowa State next as their last game of the regular season. Iowa State is a team that's better than what their record shows they are. So it's no gimme going into that game. But, you got to feel at this point that they'll be able to stay focused, pull that one out. And the real challenge should be in that Big 12 championship game that's already locked in. They'll be playing Kansas State in a matchup there that if they could get through these next two games now undefeated, they pretty much secured their playoff spot, and we'll be seeing them in the postseason. Another game huge for playoff implications. This one kind of the opposite way with Tennessee going number 5 Tennessee going into South Carolina and just getting just running into a buzzsaw there.
Right.
They go in, they lose 63-38.
Yeah, that's insane.
This is without one of, if not the best running back in the SEC, in Marshawn Lloyd, who's been running all over everybody. He's been injured. He was out the week before. There was some thought he was going to be able to play this game. He couldn't go. And despite the fact that he doesn't play, South Carolina just lights Tennessee up, right? Spencer Rattler, kind of, shows that potential that's been inside, kind of untapped that you only see sometimes. It was all out there. The defense, they were able to really get after Tennessee. They, Hendon Hooker gets knocked out of the game. His season is done at this point.
Right, which was really unfortunate considering the season he was having.
Yeah, he had some Heisman hopes and all these things, but yeah, in one game, South Carolina comes and they rip away the Heisman. Not like he was the favorite at this point,
right?
Anyways,
but a respectable candidate.
Yeah, but he's completely taken out of that, and they completely taken out Tennessee of any playoff hopes. So yeah, look, huge win for South Carolina. This is a team that they've been up and down all year. Kind of oddly enough, first game of the year SEC wise was between South Carolina and Arkansas, and both of those teams have potential on the high end to beat almost anybody.
Almost, yeah, exactly.
But then they consistently underperform like randomly, and you just never know when they're gonna show up at their best.
The
Clearly, this was
their best for
one of their
sure.
better performances for South Carolina, and Tennessee. They go and they'll have to regroup and kind of try to finish the season strong without their leader and All American quarterback and Hendon Hooker that was just putting up insane numbers all year. Um, we'll move on to Pac-12 matchup. Big matchup with the crosstown rivals, number 7 USC and number 16 UCLA. This was a big game. Anytime you have these type of rivalries, it's always something to see. Even
Right,
more so when both teams are good. Both these teams been good all year. Pac-12 in general, those top few teams been just back and forth battling it out.
right.
But yeah, USC is able to come out with the win here, 48-45. If anybody watched the game, they would have heard Joe Clack calling it. He kind of said this feels like one of those games where if you punt, you lose. I mean, they combined went almost to 100 points.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I believe the over under was somewhere in the 70s, and they blew past that. And yeah, they were both offenses were rolling. Look, Dorian Thompson Robinson just really showed out, even with injuring his hand. Really, just gave it all he had, making plays with his feet. Was able to
Yeah,
throw the ball still, even though it wasn't as consistent after that injury. But
right.
yeah, just really gutting it out there. Caleb Williams,
I think he had
guys,
like did probably the best game of his season with this
yeah,
game with this
yeah,
rivalry.
really spectacular performance by him. He's the guy where sometimes as a not a fan of like UFC per se,
Right,
someone just watching UFC to see like how they do and things like that. Um, and Caleb Williams as well, kind of neutral on him as well. Like obviously, he's a great quarterback, but sometimes the way he acts, even sometimes in this game, he's kind of arrogant, comes off. You know what I mean?
no,
Not that I don't like players celebrating or things like that, but sometimes it just feels a little bit over
too
the
much.
top.
Yeah,
But skill wise, I mean, there is no question. I mean, this
yeah.
guy's
He has a
throwing,
great skill set
yeah,
as a
great skill
quarterback.
set. He's able to, sneaky little type of evasion in the pocket, still able to use his feet and had a cannon for an arm that he could also make all the throws with and put the ball right on the money. And
Yeah. I think
um,
the thing that stands out with him from what I've seen just throughout the year is also like, I mean, you talked about his pocket presence and how he's able to step up and do things, obviously evade, but um, a lot of quarterbacks, aside from him and Bryce Young steps into the pocket, makes a throw, and lives with whatever's going to come to him, whether that's a linebacker blitzing, whether that's a D lineman pressuring him. And you see a lot of that with Caleb Williams, and I think that's really the upside of it because we've seen a lot of quarterbacks where they're not comfortable in the pocket. They like to get outside the pocket, especially in college football where the game is so much more fast paced. So I mean, it was again, it was a great game for him, a great game for USC and for Lincoln Riley. Obviously, we spoke about this like earlier on the year. We were like, yeah, it would be great to see this kind of matchup, and I think it lived up to everything that everybody's expected. So
right, for sure, for sure.